make sure we're recording. Maybe more people will jump on. So, welcome to the mindset coaching session. I want to I want to go over just a couple of things. Make sure you always check the events section in Sober for Life. Go to groups, go to the Sober Mindset, and then go to events. Just because I made a couple of tweaks. I normally, when I set an event, I really try and stick to it, but it's very hard to plan things at the moment because nobody knows what May is going to look like or June's going to look like. So I tweaked the times on everything. So all the calls should be at 2 p.m. Whatever day they are, they're all at 2 p.m. Eastern. The bonus sessions are in there that Lynn is going to be teaching at the end of June as well. So make sure that's where I communicate. It's much easier for me to just pop in there and go say whatever I need to say rather than send an email to people. So just make sure you check that for information. These coaching sessions are to help you integrate the work, get support and help on anything that you are struggling with, because that's whatever you're struggling, all of that can be related to mindset. So it doesn't have to be specific to what we just learnt in the teaching module. It can really be anything. But this is your chance. I'm not going to be teaching. I'm going to be coaching. So it's your chance to step forward, get help and support with the mindset of whatever you're going, whatever's going on for you right now. And particularly around what we're learning, whether it's this month or last month. That's what I want to use these sessions for. We are going to go into next month. I was just kind of getting the lecture together. We're going to start going into the subconscious mind stuff next month, and we're going to start getting into the negative critical thinking and limiting beliefs that all exist there. So, Carla, I'm going to come to you first as you have the hard stop. How are you doing there?
Good morning. Today I start my 8th week of my 6-day visit. So, you know how it goes. Like you were saying, you can't plan anything right now.
Well, how are you doing clothing wise?
I came down with 2 t-shirts and 2 pairs of pants, and I tried what the young people do these days. It's called Stitch Fix.
Oh,
And they sent me a bag of clothes, and everything but one piece works great. So that's how I'm dealing with it.
I used to do Stitch Fix. I did it for about 18 months. Eventually I kind of got bored of it, but I liked it. It's pretty good, yeah.
Well, I thought this was a new switch for them to have to dress a nanny.
So how's it going? I saw that you wrote about an incident that happened over the weekend and how you dealt with that.
Yeah, I think it's remarkable that it took until the week 7 for us to have a meltdown. One would have thought that it would have come up sooner. I came down February 29th to help them get ready to move. So then on the first day of the lockdown, which here in California was St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, was the day the actual move occurred from a small apartment in San Francisco to an open floor plan townhouse here in Mountain View. So we got through the move, and it's been now a month here and settling with the 2 of them. I refer to my kids, they're probably older than a lot of you, 38 and 40, working from home, which is challenging. It really takes up a lot of space when someone's in the living room on a standing desk, and my daughter's in the master bedroom on her ironing board standing desk, and I'm with my delightful but sometimes challenging granddaughter. So it's been quite a juggling routine, and their schedules are quite long. My son-in-law may be on an international call with Europe early in the morning, and then in the evening on a call with India. And that's all happening in the living room in an open floor plan. So we did have a meltdown last Thursday. I think the blessing of being here in Santa Clara County, that's Silicon Valley, is that when my daughter called the crisis line, she got a good volunteer immediately. And then on Sunday, yesterday, they were able to have a mental health appointment by Zoom or some such. And I think we had some good conversations yesterday afternoon about boundaries and that kind of thing. So it's been hard for all of us.
Yeah.
So I guess in terms of the homework, what I've been struggling with are my classic perfectionism, my workaholism, which is unending with an infant and a new place to settle into. And this morning, even at 3 o'clock in the morning when I woke up, I just was off and I wanted to cry. And I wanted to go into my classic victim, you know, poor me role this morning. But I really don't need to go there. But that's what I'm struggling with.
Yeah, and all of that's very very typical for what's happening right now. This is unbelievably stressed, and so many of us have it good. You know, we're still employed in our house. We live opposite a great park. The weather's better. You know, the people who are in a tiny flat, it must be very hard. So I think, so perfectionism. So let's talk a little bit about perfectionism first. Perfectionism is a weapon that we utilize so we don't have to be vulnerable. So when we go into perfectionism, so perfectionism is usually exterior. It's like if everything outside of me can be perfect, if this house can be perfect, if the piece of work I submit is perfect, if I look perfect, if the event is perfect, then the result of that is everybody will be happy, everything will be fine, and I will be okay. We labor over perfectionism because it's a shield to not have to be vulnerable and show our messy insides. Mm-hmm. So I can relate to that a lot. I've definitely suffered from workaholism, and I can tip over into perfectionism and get and what we want to do is sit with the discomfort of imperfection and knowing that we will survive the feelings and it will be okay. Mm-hmm. I tell this story, this was years ago when I was fairly newly sober, and maybe a year or so, something like that. And a friend of mine had a party and she invited me, and I'm much better at this, but I'm anally on time. I am incapable of being late, even if I try and be late. I had a late mother. So I turn up on time and not really much is ready. Like the decorations are still not up, the food is not cooked, this isn't done, the chairs aren't out. And I inside I'm going, oh my God, this is a nightmare. My friend, happy as Larry, totally unstressed. People started coming in. She's like, oh, Bob, could you put those things up? Oh, Sarah, would you mind getting the chairs out with Tony? Veronica, can you go and get the playlist sorted out with whoever? And inside I'm going, this is a disaster. This is this is awful. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed for it. I can't literally, because if you come to a party at my house, we're ready. Because I've been up till 3 a.m. making sure we're ready. Like you'll come in and it's all ready. So there I do. I go and get the playlist ready with this guy. And we have this really fun time and other people join in and we have these playful arguments about music taste, all this kind of stuff. And everybody's doing the same thing. And I kind of look around and go, wow, the party just sort of happened. Like this was actually really clever, because what happened is people who didn't know each other were sort of put together to make things happen.
Yeah.
And we got to, so like none of that awkward, like, oh, hi, what do you do for a living kind of bit happened. And I kind of ended up thinking, wow, this was like really clever. I'm going to throw all my parties like this in future because A, it's less work, and B, it's a perfect icebreaker. But that was kind of like my first, like, oh, like things don't have to be perfect. You survive. Like everybody survived. In fact, we all thrived. But we have to kind of notice those moments where, you know what? messy imperfection will do here, and we'll all survive it. Does that make sense? Do you get that kind of extreme like feeling inside where you're like, oh?
Yes, particularly when I was working. I have retired, but at work it was exceedingly important that everything be perfect. But today,
were you a doctor?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But on a mundane level, this last night I went to bed and the compost wasn't taken out, the recycle wasn't taken out, and the garbage wasn't taken out. So this morning when I got up, I took the compost down, and yes, the garbage is still overflowing, and yes, the recycle is still overflowing. And guess what? I got through the morning, and it's okay. So that's quite a mundane example, but I think it proves your point.
Yeah. So here's the thing about perfectionism, and it's always goes back to balance. In certain professions, like being a doctor, a surgeon, a pilot, various other things, leaning into your perfectionism is very helpful. I wouldn't want a really messy imperfect pilot or doctor or etc. etc. However, it's about balance. So in certain areas it can be your strength, and in other areas it can be your enemy. And it's about the balance bit. Always going back to balance is recognizing the difference between the two.
Good point.
Does that make this? That's it's whatever the question, balance is always the answer. It always goes back to just balancing that. Now, well done on letting the garbage and all that stuff go. I have the same thing. I this is, you know, Sober Full is my thing, and I can only work on it when I have child-free hours. And you know, when the kids are at school, normally the clock is ticking for me. As soon as I dropped off the kids, I have usually 5 to 6 hours of no kids, so I can work on my business and work, you know, do all this kind of stuff. And then once that clock runs out, I can't. I'm running around taking kids to this and all that kind of stuff, and I can't really do anything until 9 p.m. at night, and usually I'm too tired then. So normally, and I did this one before I had kids, like I wouldn't, you know, the kitchen would have to be clean, the garbage would have to be out, like my environment would have to be perfect before I could start work, because it would just bother me. Like it would just bother me that the washing up from breakfast hadn't been done. Well, when I had kids in this situation, mostly the kitchen, all that's kind of clean before, but sometimes it's not. And I can come home from dropping the kids off and leave a messy kitchen for 5 or 6 hours with minimal, it bothering me just a tiny bit, because I know I can't sacrifice 45 minutes. I can clean up the kitchen when my kids are there. In fact, my oldest son helps me empty the dishwasher. That's a job I can do when they're around, but I can't sacrifice that 45 minutes, because that's 45 minutes from my uninterrupted child-free time. So I had to sit with the uncomfortableness of that. But you know what? Newsflash, the world hasn't ended because Veronica didn't clean up her kitchen.
Right. Well, and I think the problem now with the working from home, you know, if you remember Melanie Beattie's Codependency No More, the problem now is this enmeshment, that it's so difficult to set any kind of boundaries when you've got this booming voice in the living room on a very complicated business call, and you're trying to do anything anywhere else in the house. So I think that's what we're trying to work on today, are better boundaries. And I also don't have any place else to go except this little guest room. I am blessed. I mean, in the San Francisco apartment, I was sleeping in the nursery on a cot. So we've certainly, I'm very thankful for what I do have. And yes, we are so much more fortunate than so many others.
And it's always important to remember that. But it's like, you know, when we're trying to get our kids to eat food and we say, you know, look, there's children starving in Ethiopia. It doesn't really actually, you know, it's still we've also, yes, we are very lucky, we can honor that. However, we all have that's not enough for us to go through our day without feeling the challenges of our environment and whatnot. So you have a little escape place. That's good.
Yes.
Do you have boundaries around the childcare, like
yes, we've got hard stops.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I'm on, she's on in the early, on work days, she's on from 6:30 to 8ish, and then father feeds and does the first diaper, and then I take over at 8:30 to 5, and then they're on after 5. So that's working out really well, and the baby's sleeping better. So that's a gift.
And are you able to, in your downtime, what are you doing to take care of yourself?
Um, well, I do some walks, but I walk a lot with the baby. And I guess that's the problem, is my limited repertoire, because I have a guest room. I've made a standing desk out of my closet. I thought that was pretty innovative. And you know, so I'm reading and I'm talking with friends, journaling, but I didn't bring my knitting. I didn't bring my tarot deck. I didn't bring my favorite journal. So many of my props I don't have here. So I only, and I can't even walk to Mountain View, Old Mountain View, and go to the coffee shop because there's this sheltering in place for seniors. So with my white hair, if I show up at a coffee shop, it's a misdemeanor, you know. It's like, there's nowhere to go. I've been in a car twice since March 15th. This is new.
It is. Yeah, it is. Are you able to do any journaling or meditating at all?
Meditating, I certainly do. And I've got a backup journal here, but of course my favorite journal's at home because I never travel with that because I don't dare lose it.
But still, you can make do with your COVID-19 journal.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what this is.
So I know it's very challenging for people, and plus people's schedules are a little crazy. I really try and make, like, Saturday and Sunday, we both actually did work a little bit at the weekend, but we, like, Friday night we always order takeout. Just like, you got to try and make the days feel a bit different, right?
Yeah.
So the thing about mindset habits is, right now we are just going to do the best we can in the circumstances that we're existing in, and that's true forever. That doesn't stop being true, like, when this is all over at some point. We have to, it's always balance. We always have to adjust. So we want to go back to what I want is what I want is for you to build up a practice that continues after this course ends. So I have done mindset habits for many, many years, but how it looked 18 years ago is not how it looks today. One thing is, it has to change because the repetition just becomes boring and we don't get anything out of it. So we just want to have a little bit of awareness of just taking a little bit of time where possible in our week to have that 10-15 minutes to do something for ourselves. Now, when this all changes, that will look different. But if you're in the habit of just thinking, even if right now it's just once a week, that is a good habit to establish. Now, if we're doing the story of like, well, I can't do this right now because it's too crazy and the virus, that's actually going to become a limiting belief. We're just pushing it away. What we want to do is always go back to balance, always go back to it. Like, daily, I don't feel capable of that, but once a week, I can do it once a week, or maybe it's 3 times a week, whatever it is. So we kind of want to watch the stories that we tell about whatever it is. I don't have the right journal or whatever. Like, we just want to do it. We just want to messily do these little things to take care of our mindset because we are worth it. Because you are worth it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Anything else?
I was just, reading some of our other colleagues' comments. I really identified with Eva's comments about her parents being in mourning from World War II. I think I certainly identify with that. My father had PTSD from being a skipper in a landing craft in the Mediterranean. And I know that really colored his drinking pattern, and therefore my childhood and all those ACOA beliefs that I grew up with. I do have to laugh. Last coaching call, you were talking about those of us that grew up in the nuclear bomb era. And all I remember from that is once or twice, maybe in fourth grade, having to crawl under my desk. And I wonder now, what are our children going to be experiencing? I noticed the children trying to play hide and seek here with the parents yelling at them, stay 6 feet apart, stay 6 feet apart. That's not the way to play hide and seek.
Yeah, it's really generational stuff is really interesting. Just one thing about the kids, yeah, because my kids, I do EFT with my eldest son. He it's just incredible. He had some anxiety about the virus, and he said, I walked past someone, mummy, and I just got too close to them, and it's not that we're yelling at our kids stay 6 feet apart. It's how we teach them to deal with the emotions that come up from that. So it's not living through the Cold War or the Second World War or any of that kind of stuff. It's that we teach and model to our children how to deal with those feelings. That's the difference. And that's the generational stuff, is because I don't think until roughly, I don't know, maybe the last 20 years, maybe less. I mean, I certainly wasn't parented in that way, and I wonder if anyone was any. I mean, it's usually an aberration if someone grew up with parents who are very emotionally literate and able to coach them through feelings. Did anyone experience that? No, people are shaking heads. Yeah.
Well, it's probably my generation of parents. You know, I was attending ACOA meetings when my children were in elementary school, so I think it's probably my generation. I'm 70 forward. So I think that was a real turning point.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think, however, your generation that tends to be more of an exception rather than a rule. So yes, I also have my best friend, her aunt is in her 80s, and she was taking, oh, hold on, my thing's just failed. Can everyone still hear me? Okay, they just did that noise.
Oh, that doesn't work. Okay, did that switch over? Can you all hear me? Okay, cool.
Yes.
So if you ever had these, they go boop, 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 which means the battery's about to go. Yeah, I have it. So my friend, her aunt, who's in the 80s, they were doing like group therapy in the 60s as a family. But that was an exception. It's not really typical. Even now, I still see amongst my peer group, I'm kind of like, you got to emotionally coach your kids, guys. You got to emotionally coach your kids. So as we go along, this generational stuff will change. But yes, all of us, and that's going to be a big part that we are going to get to. I think it's in the next module, the next couple of modules, about the generational messages that were passed down. Because we all have generational messages in our families, in our cultures, that were passed down about, like, this is how it is. This is how it is in this family, that we just don't question because we don't know that we can do that. So it's really interesting. And it's each generation has an obligation to get free of as much of that as they can so that they don't pass it on to the next generation. However, we will still pass it down. What we have to pass down, here's the big thing, is the message to our children. This stuff was passed down. We didn't mean to do it. Some of it may not be useful to you. You have to do some work to get rid of that. It's that bit with kids. It's not that they're going to be traumatized by COVID-19. Is they will be affected by it if we don't coach them to deal with this thing that we're going through. Does that make sense?
Well, and I think the work that I did with the kids growing up allowed us to pass through this crisis this week, with my daughter calling the crisis line immediately, and then having the clearly excellent counseling session on a Sunday at 11 a.m. That they, chose to do that. They did it together. So even though it was a rough patch, I think the work that we've done made them not delay or deny or push under the rug. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that. I think the Angeles Arian's comment was always not, I don't want to be a lineage bearer, meaning we want to stop the line of this kind of behavior
Yeah.
with my generation.
Yeah. What a wonderful grandmother you are.
It's hard work.
I know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you so much. Okay, who wants to step forward and get some support, some coaching? Sheila, I'll come to you next. Hey, my love.
Hi, how are you? Hi, everybody.
Good. I was just looking at you and I was just saying to Carla about the stuff that gets put down generations and in our cultures and what gets sent down in the British culture and in the Irish culture, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
So what can we help you with today?
Well, sorry I'm late. My kids were having a meltdown about coronavirus and lockdown. And my kids are 7 and 10, and it's kind of the first time they've both really verbalized it, actually, just as I was about to come on. But I felt really grateful that they were. My son, who's 10, just came in there and said he was able to, like, I'm just reflecting that he had the language to say to me, I'm finding this really hard, Mum, because my sister called to drop something off, and we had to keep the 2-meter distance, and he just was crying, saying that he really wanted to hug her. And he was saying, then he told me what he thought would be good for us as a family to do differently. So I was just like, oh my God.
What did he say?
He said, because he's doing Joe Wicks every morning. He said he's really sporty. He said that Joe Wicks, for anyone who doesn't know, I think he's kind of worldwide at the moment. He's a British coach, like exercise coach, and he's doing a morning exercise.
I just signed up for it because I wanted to get the exercise videos.
Oh yeah,
He's up for it. For his plan,
yeah.
like plan. I don't know if I'll do but I want to get the video.
Oh yeah, he does a Thursday plan. His all of the morning exercise. It's for kids actually, but everybody does them. But they're all on his YouTube channel for free. The kids ones, everything. Yeah. But anyway, he said to me that he felt it'd be a good idea if everybody got up to do it together. And he said that, he said to me, 70-year-old people are doing it, at all ages. So he said we could all vary it. And he just said to me, that really helps my day. So it's like he kind of knew that his day wasn't going particularly well. We haven't had a great day as a family today. Everybody's tempers have been a bit frayed. The kids have definitely picked up. Myself and my husband are kind of irritated with each other. I've been working a lot, and this was my first day in ages doing the homework with them. I did it differently. I made a mess of it, to be honest, but my husband's been doing a very good job of it. So anyway, that's the first thing. But my daughter is, she kind of is, she's 7.
Can I just with your son? What did you say about doing the Joe Wicks every morning?
I said I would do that with him tomorrow. I was trying to get on here, so I said, can we have a family meeting when I'm finished and just talk about, kind of agree what everybody thinks. But I said to him, I thought that was a great idea, and it would probably help me to start my day quite well as well.
Can I just take a minute? What a wonderful mother you are that you heard him, because he was communicating so much there. He was communicating that he wanted a connection with you. He wanted, and it's so important that, he's like, it would just do so much for his self-esteem being heard and yeah, you're right, we'll do that, and finding a way to make that happen, even if it's just the weekends or whenever you can do it. He would get so much from that, and well done. Yeah. You clocked it. You weren't yeah, I'm too busy, whatever. You really, well done, Sheila.
Thank you. Yeah, I was about to say I'll have to talk to you afterwards, but then when you talk about balance, and I kind of thought, actually, I know I'm about to jump onto this call, but the kids, and he really, he finds it hard to talk about how he feels. And I was like, okay, no, I need to give him this time. So yes, I did that well.
Well, yeah, that was the right thing to do. Well done.
Yeah. So we're just kind of struggling a bit as a family today, but just in terms of the work, I was in one of the recovery meetings earlier, and I just had started talking about trying to be consistent around any of the practices. I'm finding quite hard. So, but this is my kind of consistent story. So I'm consistent about my story, which is I don't have time. And then what happens is I recover. My recovery is always, a bit of recovery, and I get to the bottom of certain things, but not everything. So I don't kind of get that holistic kind of feeling that I'm 5 years without a drink, but I often feel that I'm not emotionally sober. So it's just that kind of, how much of this is just the same old excuses, or how much of this is that I am working on the front line. It's been thrown up all over the place, but like I did do a couple of things did come up which were interesting. And I just tell you about those. Just when I did some journaling, I noticed the resistance is definitely around. I kind of, when you were talking about the looking at the photographs on an Instagram, you posted that gorgeous photograph of you as a kid, and I was kind of struck because I know you've posted photographs of when you were a teenager, and I always am struck by how I don't like to look back at those pictures for some reason. There's a lot of confusion, actually. It's not like pain necessarily, but it's just confusion and not major happiness when I look back at those photographs. So it was really weird after, and you had kind of responded to my comment, and said you need to cherish that person. And I know I can really feel that you're doing that. And weirdly, my dad, who is 76, and my mum is 74, they're cocooning and they're clearing out the house, and my dad keeps sending down bits that he's finding. My parents have kept so much stuff from when we were younger, and I opened this thing yesterday, and it had a picture, my favorite picture of me as a baby, which I haven't seen for years, because I'm tiny and I've such a big smiley happy face. Like, I would think I'm only about 9 months old. And then the second one was me, and I figured out I was 15 in the photograph, and that's just kind of when things started to go wrong for me. And initially, I don't like looking at those photographs because they make me emotional. I get really upset. And so I started off by getting upset, but then, and I didn't, when you've said about looking back at those photographs and being able to love yourself, like that kind of literally makes me go, ugh, and I don't know why. But I looked at those photographs and I actually did get the feeling of love towards that baby, the feeling of, I looked at my teenage self just going, and I like so much came back, and I journaled it because I just kind of felt like I could see it in my eyes and everything. And I was just so desperate to connect with my mom. And I think so much, I wrote quite a bit on this because I was just like, oh my God, there's so much around this where, like, I've been talking before about these relationships, sometimes with women, that I'm finding quite hard. And I just thought it's the same old story. It's that feeling of I'm too much. I'm not, like, she doesn't like me. I'm too much. Like, my mom's so different to me. She's very small, kind of, small in every way. She's like slim, beautiful, very subservient to my dad. He's a doctor. She's a nurse. Everything was my dad first and then us. And it was like I was quite quiet when I was younger, and then I kind of, as I became a teenager, I just became very, very outgoing and very outspoken. I was quite feminist, quite young. So she just, I suppose, always, it's been, please, for my messaging from her is just be quiet and smaller. And like, I put on a lot of weight, and that doesn't suit at all. She's very ashamed of me. But it was amazing. I just saw that 15-year-old and thought, my God, I could really feel it. It's just like, God, I needed that connection with that main woman in my life. Like, I really needed, I didn't know, like, so much stuff happened. Like, I developed so much as a woman as well, and I was getting a lot of attention, and I just had no connection with my mom, and she was emotionally unavailable for me. And although I've kind of touched on this, and there was a lot of stuff around my dad in the past, but I didn't really know what it was around my mom, but I just felt it. I was just like, yeah, and I think I'm probably repeating a bit of that, feeling I'm too much, feeling like I need to be quiet or smaller, all that stuff.
All,
so
like,
that was
all
that, like,
programming. How we're communicated to by our parents. It's implicit and it's explicit. We're explicitly told. Like, so, I mean, certainly every female client I've ever had is like this, like, what was it a client had the other day? Like, oh, you're so sensitive and emotional, which is basically code for your feelings are intolerable to us, shut them down.
Mm.
um oh, you always make such a big deal of oh, you always have to make a big song and dance about stuff. That's basically code for you take up so much space, you're so big, there's so much of you, be smaller, smaller, fit in. Like, that's what we're going to begin undoing, all of that. So much messaging from communities, but from families, from parents, about how we should be to fit in with in the mold that they have for us, and that
Yeah.
which is for all of us constricting. It's
Mm.
always smaller.
And I'm
I
still doing it, like with her. I know I'm still trying to say less, be less controversial, so I can get some time with her and some of her attention. Like, I thought I'd kind of let go of that a bit, but I kind of, it hit me. I was like, I'm never really going to be free of this. Like, but it was great to actually get to see it, to go, oh, okay. And I'm repeating this, I'm repeating this, needing this attention, trying to change myself in order to get the attention. I mean, I know that's probably not all of it. I know it's not all of it, but
It makes perfect sense, and this is a really good technique for all of you. I'm just going to try and find the photo. So I put this photo on Instagram of myself when I was about, oh gosh, 3 or 4.
yeah, it's gorgeous.
Because basically that's my son. If you take, like, that's my youngest son, like, look exactly like that. But I honestly, I look at that picture and I just feel such love. Like, it's almost my own child. The way those of you are parents, when you look at your own children, and especially when they're little and they're the cutest, and you just love on them, I feel like that towards her. But I didn't always. I had to say, like, so that the story I wrote with that is my mum, for until I was like a teenager, made me have what was called a page boy haircut, and I hated it because it had the word boy in it, and I just hated it. I was not allowed to have long princess hair like other people, and so I would look at this picture when I was older, maybe in my teens and 20s, and just think, God, I hate my hair. Oh God, like, oh, like it's her fault. And now I just feel like warm love, like, just like, oh, I just wanna. And one of the things we can do is find a picture of our younger selves, like young, when we're really young, and look at it every day and say, I love you. And it sounds like a little silly, but notice the feelings that come up. They will
Yeah.
open up a bunch of stuff that came, because part of overcoming, if I was going to sit your mum down and use my magic powers and say to her, does your love for Sheila have any conditions? Like if she's like her size or what she does or this, like, you don't love her really. And if I was able to ask your mum that with my magic powers, this is what your mum would say. My love for her is like boundless. Like, I love her inside out, up and down, and sideways. There's no conditions on it. However, Sheila, when that goes through her filter system
Mm.
and her conditioning and her experiences and her own unresolved trauma, it comes out sounding conditional.
Yeah.
And it's not. Because if I opened her up and said, like, how big is your love for Sheila? It's boundless and huge and without any conditions. It's just her own shit gets in the way of that, in the way that it's expressed. It's the same for my mother.
Mm.
My my son who's just turned 5 learned to ride a bike like that, like, just got it, and is riding up and down on the path outside. And she called me and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, Lukey's learned to ride his bike, Mum." Because this is what my mum always does. My mum went, "What if he rides off and gets snatched? What if he rides into a car?" And I said, "Mum, I'm not going to go there with you. What would be great is if you said, isn't it great that Lukey learned to ride his bike? I mean, what if he rode off and gets snatched?" That that's what that's my mother's a Google search engine of things to be frightened of.
I'm also frightened of that. I kind of understand.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
parents have been so programmed. We have it. We've all had it, right? We've all had it. We've not been able to see our kid for 27 seconds, and in those 27 seconds, I'm imagining every horror show
Yeah.
ever. And like the statistics, I mean, your kid has like that, the chance of that happening is like so tiny, minuscule, but because when it happens, it's blanketed across our news. Every parent has that fear. Just a complete aside, there's a really great website called Free Range Parenting, and there's a book, and I can't remember the book. I think it's Last Child in the Woods or something like that. And it's all about how we are stealing freedom from our children because of our fear. And it's all based on research, real research about the anxiety levels in children from their parents. And it's all this implicit, they're going to get kidnapped and snatched and by a paedophile, that we are preventing them, because we all, like all of us, right, we all had those childhoods where we went off in the morning and on our bikes and came back when we were hungry and nobody thought anything more of it. What happens is we and we can remember this as teenagers as well, and kids, is when we don't allow them this like opportunity to roam and be responsible and do all of those things, is they start deceiving us, because if we find out about certain things, our punishment is to take away their freedom. And what kids want more than anything is their freedom. Our job as parents is to manage our fear.
Yeah.
Our job is to parent them to do things safely, swim, cross the road, ask for help, and manage our fear. But we're not managing our fear. We're managing our fear by trying to overmanage our children.
Yeah.
I'm
definitely guilty of that. Yeah.
That was a little detour. So I want you to get a picture get that picture, and I want you to every day say, I love you. You have enough time in your day to do that. You can do it when you're brushing your teeth. Second thing is, you're right. There's two things that are true at the same time that you said there. So yes, it is different and it is chaotic and busy. And I know you're on the front line and working more, and that's much more stressful. So that is a truth. And there is also a truth that, however, no matter what, I still tell myself that story. So I don't do things to take care of myself.
Yeah.
So both things are true at the same time. Within that, and again, it's always balance. In different circumstances, I can do things differently in terms of the 10 minutes I grab to meditate or journal or whatever. However, within this situation, if it's once a week right now, then make it once a week. That still qualifies as a habit, and we need that going forward. It's just as I explained it. What we're going through right now is the 5-year-old who doesn't want to brush his teeth. But every day I make him brush his teeth, because at some point in his life he will want to do that. He will want to do that. So right now you're the 5-year-old, and I'm just going, you just have to do this once a week, Sheila, because at a certain point you feel the benefits of it in terms of sorting out your interior life, that you'll want to do it. Last week, was it last week? Don't know when it was. Can't remember. Every week seems the same. Recently, I had a resentment against somebody, an email exchange. Oh my God, pissed me off, right up in my head. Don't they know who I am? Blah, 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 blah. And I now know with resentments, it's up to me how long I tolerate that inside me. And I went and I wrote that out, because immediately it began to shift how I saw the situation, and I felt release from it. Yeah. So that I can do that because I spent so much time disciplining myself in ways to change how I think and how I see the world.
Yeah.
So once a week, does once a week feel comfortable for you?
Totally. I mean, I know I can do it more than that, but I'll say that and hopefully get more.
Let's really commit to once a week. What day would that be?
Either a Monday or a Tuesday, because I'm working less on those days.
Okay. But like, do you work like at home in your office there?
No, I'm in. Well, I am. Yeah, I am tomorrow. So mostly, no, I'm in work. Yeah. So Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays. It's just changing all the time at the moment, but a bit of both. But so mostly in work.
It's really so. I had fully intended to do that myself today before I started work, and I didn't. it works much better for me when I schedule it.
Yeah.
I bullet journal.
Yeah,
So
I love bullet
if I
journaling.
actually put it in my bullet journal, then bullet journal items get done. So if it's putting in your calendar with an alert, whatever works for you.
Well, you mentioned bullet journaling before. I got myself one, so
I
okay.
love bullet journaling. I don't know if it works for everyone. It really works for me. Like I was doing this another slight aside. I was doing this the ways we organize ourselves. It's really important to find out what works for you. I worked with someone who did this time blocking thing, who was like, you do like 2 hours you do emails, and then an hour you do social media, then this, and then when that ends, it ends. Does not work for me. Does not work for me in any way, shape, or form. Bullet journaling works for me. Things in my
Yeah,
bullet journal get done. It's
yeah,
just you have to find the thing that works for you, because not everything works for everybody.
yeah. No, I like it because you can create your own system with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and just sorry, the very last thing, just on the journaling, there is resistance to it. It feels very intense, and I suppose because I feel a bit confused about my past because there isn't kind of a clear, my mum or dad were alcoholics, or it brings up a lot of confusion. So I can feel with journaling that I just want to avoid it because it can feel quite intense and quite heavy and a bit sad or something. And I don't want to go too deep. I want to stay in my distraction and stay on Instagram scrolling mindlessly,
Yeah.
So that's what's
I
coming
always,
up.
I always say to people, if you have a smartphone and you happen to have Instagram and Facebook on your smartphone, don't tell me you don't have time to journal and do mindset work,
Yeah,
because we waste a lot of time doing that. Um, I what we want to do is build the habit and build the muscle. So always write a gratitude list
yeah, okay, yeah,
and just begin to and just figure out what works for you. I don't just like to journal. I like to do like answer questions, and like I do resentments and fears, but I also do like, what are my challenges right now? What do I need to give attention to? What feels really uncomfortable? Like stuff like that stuff works for me better. And
yeah,
we do want to kind of bring up some discomfort. We want to kind of bring that discomfort to our attention so we can move on in the process. Does
yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, headings like that are helpful. I did use the prompt that
Okay,
Jen
great.
did. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so once a week, let us know how that goes.
Yeah, I will do. Thank you very much.
All right, my love.
Thanks.
Who wants to go next? If you have a hard stop, let me know. Who would like to get some support and coaching next? Just wave or put it in the chat. Or we can just stare at each other for another hour if you want.
I can go next.
Hey, Veronica, it's Corey.
Oh, hi, Kari. I'm going to go to Mimi, then I'll come to you, Kari, okay?
Okay.
All right, cool. Hi, Mimi.
Hi. Yeah, I'm actually at home, but I'm working from home, so I might have to cut out
Okay.
at some point. I might get a phone call or something.
Mm-hmm.
In any event, things are going well, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I got better at journaling. I had a lot of messages that were making it hard for me to journal, which the messages are, I hate to journal. I've tried it a couple times in the past and it feels like work to me. I think I have to get over the hump of it being work. So I did just write down gratitude stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of working through a life change and trying to decide what I want to do. So I'm journaling about that. So I think that is a good thing. I just want to, as you said, get into the habit of doing it. I think it's a lot of just getting over the hump.
It's always about balance. For me, if anything feels like work, it's just much harder to do. Like, so I've been going for a run every morning. Sometimes that feels like work, but I'm so focused on, I know how it sets me up for my day and how great I feel, that I focus on the benefits, that the getting over the hump feels easier. I like to think of it as effort, not work, because effort feels different to work. Work just feels ugh. And for me, the mindset reframe I gave myself around this stuff is it's the taking care of our outsides and taking care of our insides. And you at some point did not want to brush your hair or wash your teeth or wash your face or change your clothes. You did not want to do those things. Somebody helped you get in that habit, and now you want to do it because of how it makes you feel. But it's the same thing for the mindset stuff we're doing. It's just a habit we're going to get into, and that really is what happens. That happens. You kind of just got to stay with it until it does. Is we keep doing this stuff, we keep doing this stuff, and then you see the shift and you see the payoff. And when I saw the shift and payoff and could relate it to the work that I was doing, then it was like, oh, then I get good stuff. And I want good stuff. So if I do this, I get good stuff. And that's what I've always wanted is good stuff. So now I know how to do that. And then it became an effort that felt quite easy. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So reframe it in your mind that you are taking care of your insides just as the same way you take care of your outsides. And always balance it. If it's can't be a daily thing, we never want it to feel like we're just like pushing a boulder, and it's, if we do that, our egos will just find a way out of that really quickly. Like we've got to find a way where we can put the effort in, but it feels okay. It doesn't feel like, oh, I didn't do it today. I'm the worst person in the world. I'm so exhausted. We don't want to feel like that. What's great about this is it's super flexible. What works for you is going to be different for someone else. So super flexible, and whatever works for you, and we change and adjust it as we go along. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Does that feel okay?
Yes.
Anything else, Mimi? How are you all doing there at the surgery?
Yeah, I mean, we're in Wisconsin, so our numbers are still climbing. So we haven't, as they call it, reached our peak yet. So it just gets busier and busier, and changes every day. So I think the hardest part for all of us is, although when you're in the medical field, things change a lot. You're used to change, but I've never seen change this rapidly before. Where one day you're supposed to be doing this and the next day you're supposed to be doing the complete opposite. That's been difficult, but I feel like I'm doing better with it than I was at one point.
God bless you and all of your staff. And I any suggestions you have where we, any mental health support we can give the frontline workers, Chip and I are always talking about what more we can do. So always let me know about that.
Yeah, I'm very grateful about the EFT you taught me, because we're doing it every morning with my staff, and they're loving it. I wasn't sure how they would accept it or not, but they're really loving it.
Oh, God bless them.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
So you're reaching 380 people.
That's amazing.
That's a lot of people. Yeah.
I'm so pleased. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mimi, take care.
Yep.
Carrie, I'm going to come to you. Kari rhymes with Ferrari, right?
Right.
I want to say Carrie, but Kari rhymes with Ferrari.
The mnemonic helps.
How are you doing, my love?
I'm okay. I'm pretty good with journaling. And I'm pretty good, like revealing things through my journal. So that's a good tool for me. The meditating, that's a whole nother, ball of wax. I'm making attempts at it, but
that's all that's required. That's all that's required is making attempts at it.
It's just so interesting to me that the one, and maybe it's just the way I process information or my comfort level, but why the one is comfortable and the other is not, you know what I mean? Like it's almost yin and yang.
That's okay. It's totally normal. I'm really bad at meditating. I'm so bad at it. I'm much better at the journaling too. I just keep attempting it. That's all. I just keep attempting it. The attempting of it is actually the point.
So a couple of things that have come up, and I posted this. I said, I'm like the white rabbit from Alice in Wonderland, always worrying, racing to the next task, worried about what was and what will be, never stopping to look at Alice, who's in the present.
Uh-huh.
So I find that interesting in that, you know, I can reflect and I can look forward, but just staying in the present is a lot more difficult for me. And maybe that gets to that whole meditation piece too, because you really need to be in the present.
There you go. Yeah. I feel like I can relate to that at all. And I think this is some of my workaholism. The being still and being in the moment, you know, my kids teach me about that every single day. You know, little kids are so in the moment. They're just in the moment. That's all they are. They're in the moment. I learn from them every single day watching them. It's something I always feel the benefit of it when I allow myself to be in the moment and I allow myself to meditate and do that. But I think that that's my battle as well. But the point is that we keep trying. And for me, what really helped me was I really, again, this was just a limiting belief. I thought this whole meditating thing, I thought it was like you have to do an hour at sunrise. Like that, otherwise there's no point. What's the point? When someone said, no, you can do 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, I can do 2 minutes. Like I can do 2 minutes. That's good. And I'm like, that still counts. They're like, yeah, absolutely. That freed me so much.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I've been trying to do. That's the talk in my head that I've been saying to myself.
So have you done 2 minutes or have you not done 2 minutes?
I don't know.
Or a minute.
Part of it is that a couple of times I was doing it right before bed and I fell asleep. So I don't know how long it was before that happened. And I think we've got a park right outside our condo building. And it's a really pretty park with benches and stuff. And I've gone out there and just sat and, you know, just focused on breathing and focused on kind of looking around. And I've done that for 2 to 5 minutes.
That's perfect. You know, when I first started doing this, one of the ways that it was given to me was I did these morning things is to write, not a to-do list, but a thing. It's not like a bullet journal, but it's kind of like the things you need to give attention to during the day. And that's a form of meditation because it brings you back to the present moment. So I want you, Kari, I want you to pay attention to the stories that you are telling yourself that you are not doing this properly or doing it well or doing it good enough. Like when you notice those stories come in, stop, get rid of them and just do it. And whatever you do is perfect for you.
Okay.
So free yourself of those stories. There's simply no this is different for everybody. And we just want to get the habit, build the muscle, and whatever is working for you is just how it needs to be.
Okay.
How does that feel?
That feels fine. There's one other thing too, and I don't know if anybody else is feeling this. I was listening to your 5 pillars of sobriety, and I've got like one of them. I was like, wow.
Some days I only have one of them.
Everything sort of feels out of whack. You know, balance is out of whack, movement's out of whack, purpose, you know.
Process.
So process. I feel like I have process.
Right now you're doing process work.
Yes, but I feel like everything else is like on hold.
No. You are, so right here you're being vulnerable, so that's connection. You showed up and you connected and you told people what you're really like. That's connection. You're processing stuff. We talked about balancing the meditation. All of that comes under the umbrella of growth, which means you're growing. Movement. Okay. Can you go for a walk later? Then you would have hit all 5.
Yeah, I actually hit the tennis ball against the wall already today.
Okay,
So
Kari, what you have revealed to yourself is you are doing the thing, but you tell yourself you're not doing the thing.
I'm telling myself it's not good enough.
Ah, there we go.
So it doesn't count,
Ah, there we go. Now
which
that
is,
is interesting. We we all do that. I remember when I got, excuse me, it's hot in here. I remember when I got my bachelor's degree, and I only have a bachelor's degree. I don't have a PhD like my husband. But I remember thinking, God, that's like, I did women's studies and it was very hip and like, whoa, it'd be amazing if I got that. I'd like properly, officially be a smart person if I had a bachelor's degree in women's studies. And then I got the degree and I felt that for like 15 seconds and then thought, well, it can't have been that hard if I did it.
mm, mm-hmm.
My private
Yeah,
practice
yeah.
was my private practice was in Cambridge in England, where Cambridge University is. And a lot of my clients were PhD postdocs, and they all suffered from imposter syndrome as well. So you are telling yourself a story that you're doing it, but it's not good enough. So let's just pay attention to that. That's when that story comes in of all the different ways it comes in, Kari, I want you to say, I don't have time to listen to that today. I'm just going to do it anyway.
Okay.
We will dig this out. We're going into these modules coming up where we're going to start digging this stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
So you are doing it. How does that sit in your body, the feeling that you are actually doing it?
It feels good because I was feeling like I wasn't. And now it's like, yeah, you pointed out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that and I did that. And I'm,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so.
Well done. You just won Monday.
All right. But I do need to, the voice, that story is, that's the powerful piece for me.
Yes, that's the core of this work. We don't get to it in the first module because your brains would short circuit. We are getting to that. We have to build up the mindset practice first so we can get to this work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
All right, my love.
Thank you.
All right, Kari. Who would like to go to next? Lisa or Isabel or Kristen? Kristen.
Morning.
It's Tuesday there, right?
Yes, Tuesday morning.
Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
How you doing, love?
Look, I'm just going to go the thing that I feel really uncomfortable talking, like, and being vulnerable in front of everyone. And also I go to write stuff as well about what I've been going through on Sober for Life, and I write something and then I will delete it.
Mm-hmm.
So like right now trying to talk, I'm like, oh no, that's like, if I want to start talking about what's been coming up for me, it's like, oh no, don't talk about that. It's like, I really resonated, I think, with Sheila, of being too much. Like my emotions are too much. Yeah.
So you came forward and you were vulnerable in sharing that with us. How does that feel? Did the world end?
Oh, I'm having a freak out right now. Like my breathing is, yeah.
Okay.
I'm all like constricted and
Okay.
yeah.
Have you been watching any of my EFT videos?
I did watch one yesterday, and I think it was the one, and I did have a very big giggle when your mum started Skyping you. It was wonderful.
Okay, I want
Yeah.
to do a quick round of tapping to ease your discomfort, okay? So if you want to do it with me, you guys, you can. So tap here. Even though, just repeat, even though this feels really uncomfortable
This feels really uncomfortable,
and my breathing feels restricted
and my breathing feels restricted,
and this just feels very anxious,
and it feels really anxious
being this vulnerable
being this vulnerable
in front of everybody,
in front of everyone,
right here and now.
right here and now.
I'm safe and loved.
I'm safe and loved.
Anxious,
Anxious,
vulnerable,
vulnerable,
anxious,
anxious,
uncomfortable,
uncomfortable,
anxious,
anxious,
uncomfortable,
uncomfortable,
anxious,
anxious,
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable.
Take a deep breath. Check in with your body. How does it feel?
My heart is still racing,
Okay.
but I feel a lot more relaxed.
Okay. Just tap like this if you want to while we're talking. That will help a little bit. So if
Okay.
you were going to take a stab at saying what you wanted to say, what would that be?
I think this past week, my situation is very different, I think, not very different, but different to everyone who's spoken so far, in that, I live alone, I don't have kids, and also, being freelance, I've lost all my work. I've got a little bit of work now. And just this last week, I found it particularly hard, just waking up in the morning, just full of fear. It really not wanting to get out of bed. And I think I've worked through that a little bit. Journaling at nighttime really helps me. Writing a gratitude list at nighttime, and also, I think, I go from one extreme to the other, where, like, I just have these feelings of I'm not doing enough. I'm really not doing enough. Because I do, like, I'm pretty much all on, I'm all in, and like you, I tend more over into the side of workaholism and perfectionism. So I guess my days have just been, I try and connect with people as much as possible, and getting outside is really important. But yeah, for me, the nothingness, I'm just finding really hard.
Just put your hand here, take a deep breath. Check in with your body. How do you feel?
I feel really emotional.
Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah,
So I just want to honor that and just let you know that you are safe here with us.
thank you.
And that was real vulnerability. And
Thanks.
that you're surviving it. So just
Yeah.
breathe. It's okay. I think everybody can relate to that. I think everybody can relate to the feeling of the nothingness, the disconnection, the I'm sensing it maybe a little bit lost as well.
Yeah, really lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first most important part of changing that, Kristen, is accepting that's just where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not accepting it, it's just saying we can't move to square two until we say I'm on square one. Because otherwise we're just like going, we just got to say, right, this is square one. I do not want to stay on square one. It's not comfortable for me. This is not where I want to be. I want to be on square 47. But to get to square 47, I've got to be on square one, and then I can go to square two, and then I can go to square three. Because we can't see all of the squares to square 47. We can only see this one and maybe the next one. So that's what you did.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you are doing some good things here to support yourself. You are journaling, you're moving, you're connecting with people as much as possible, and you're working a bit again.
Yeah.
So see if this fits. What I'm sensing you say is, for a long time, the perfectionism and the workaholism and all the other stuff has kind of kept you distracted enough to not see what's really inside. And somehow you've signed up for this course and the coronavirus and all these things, and here you are going, oh fuck, now I've got to look at what's inside. Like, no, I said I wanted to do that, But I don't know if I really did want to do that. Can we fix it without going inside?
Yeah.
Does that fit?
Yeah, it does. And I think also, yeah, I've been really good at distracting myself. And I don't know, at the moment, I just have this feeling of, I'm not doing enough. I have to do more. Yeah.
Oh, I identify with that on such a deep level. I can't even tell you. Yeah, it's a big one. It's the story that we tell ourselves. I always kind of relate it back to this is kind of why I was resistant to EFT back in the day. So I am a drug addict. Like when I was drinking and using, like I drank the whole bottle of vodka and like as much cocaine as possible and would smoke 20, 30 cigarettes a day. So when I got sober and people would like, I don't know, whatever, like meditation or EFT, I'm like, it's not hardcore enough. Like I need hardcore. Like this, like what? That's like ridiculous. Like, so I was very resistant. And it was all because the stories I was telling myself, and that kind of can relate to a lot of areas of my life. It's like it's never like I just didn't do enough work on my book, or I didn't do enough of this, and I'm always telling myself that story, and then missing what's right in front of me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are going to work on that, and the first thing is to have the awareness that you are telling yourself a story that it's never enough. You were probably told a version of that story as a child, right? Somehow that was communicated to you.
Oh, yeah. Look, I think from my childhood, I did a lot of ballet and dance. And it was always like I did it from the age of 4 until the age of 20. And I had the typical ballet mother who pushed me. And I've done a bit of work with a therapist about this. And that's the perfectionism. That's the overachieving. That ballet was never ever about, and my childhood was never about fun or play. It was striving to be the best and be ruthless, and you'll never make it because you're too quiet and you don't strive it. It's all this good enough. So in this current situation, and I have been journaling. I've been doing I think it's called the Artist's Way. Up until COVID happened, I was trying to write. And so my story at the moment is, well, you should be making the most of this situation. You should be writing every day and write the book and do this. And, but that fear actually holds me back from doing anything.
So here's what I want you to practice. I want you to practice, you're going to write this down, spontaneity, mess, and fun. And here is how you're going to do that. Mimi's laughing because she's doing this. I relate very deeply on this. I had to learn how to be spontaneous. My workaholism took me to burnout when I was maybe 4 years sober, something like that. And how that showed up for me was insomnia. And after a week or two of like insomnia, you're a basket case. And I went to my doctor and he knew my history and said, you can't give me anything, but is there something you can give me that's non-addictive? And he just sat down. He was great. He said, you're a therapist. You know exactly what you need to do here to take care of yourself. And I was like, and I did. And I had to really, so what I was doing is I was working full time and trying to start a business. So I'd work full time, I would exercise, and I would come home, and every evening and every weekend would work on my business because my goal was to have my own business and be self-employed. So downtime is a waste of time. If I wasn't working to achieve my goals, that's just a simple waste of time. But I was burning out. So that's when I first really learned about balance. So I got I rearranged a lot of things. And the big thing was I knew it was threatening my sobriety, and I absolutely put my sobriety first. And what I realized was I had to let go of the outcome of starting my business. Like I had to let go of the control of that and rearrange my life in a way that was balanced. And that meant having a day off. So I was the kind of person, if you said to me like, if we were at work, like, hey, Veronica, we're going to see a movie tonight. Do you want to come? I'd be like, no, in my schedule, I'm washing my hair tonight. I can't do that. Like I couldn't do it. Like I can say, I can schedule 3 Thursdays from now, we can go and see a movie, and that's in my schedule. But don't ask me to do anything off the cuff, because that really scared me. I had to just talk myself into it. So when I had all these realizations and you said to me, I'd be like, yeah, I can go see a movie. Like, whoa, that feels really. I have a friend, my friend Laura. It's all to do with Enneagrams, which she knows much more about than me. So this was back before the coronavirus. Like, I don't know, it was like a Tuesday or something. And she texted me, she said, I'm going to start watching Game of Thrones. Like, do you think I'd like it? And I was like, yeah, it's amazing. She's like, okay, I'm just watching the first episode now. And I'm like, what now? It's lunchtime on a Tuesday. Like now? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, how does anyone do that? Like, there's no way I could do that on a work day. Like, and that she can just do that. Like, sometimes she's like, yeah, I'm just taking a nap. I'm like, you're just taking a nap? I'm like, blows my mind. I can't do that. Like, I just can't do it. But there's other things. I've got much better the spontaneity, the fun, and the mess. So I want you to practice feeling what you want to do today. So every day, I'm sure you have obligations, some things you have to do. And then I want you to see what you feel like doing within the realm of possibility, obviously. And if it's watch a movie or whatever, do that and sit with the discomfort of it. So I'm not able to watch a movie in the middle of a work day. However, I can be spontaneous. Like, I learned to be spontaneous at lots of different times. Like, I finish work now. Like with my kids, my mother was never like that. I made a promise to myself when I had kids, if I would leave tasks unfinished, if my kids were like, can we go and ride our bikes? The weather's great. So it was really uncomfortable at first for me to literally leave the dishwasher half emptied or the laundry half folded. Like, I would not do those things. I would be like, wait. And then, of course, an hour and a half goes by and we miss our window to go to the park. Now, it's uncomfortable for maybe 30 seconds. And then I'm like, so here's the thing now that I say to myself, what will matter more in 10 years? Now, of course, the laundry has to be done. The dishwasher has to be emptied. Of course, those things have to be done. However, in 10 years, what matters more is I've created these memories and connections with my children. That matters more in 10 years. So you have your own version of that. So I want you to practice spontaneity, what feels fun, and allowing mess to happen, unmanageability and mess to happen. But what will happen is that all of those things will feel very uncomfortable. But we're going to do them anyway and sit with the discomfort. You're going to ask yourself 2 questions. What will matter more in 10 years?
Yeah.
What will matter is that you rested and relaxed. And that's what I learned from hitting burnout. Is what I learned was when I let myself go to the movies, take Sunday off, blah, 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 was actually I was super productive in the time that I did work. So I could do stuff in 8 hours and not 14 hours. And then, you know what? My business happened. So when I stepped out of that rigidity, I still was able to meet my dream. It was just in a different way. So I want you to practice all of those things and just sit with the real discomfort. And if you can, in our little group, not the Sober for Life group if you don't want to, in our little group, let us know how that feels.
Okay.
If that's all upper limit stuff, we have to get comfortable with discomfort.
Yeah.
This happened a couple of Mondays ago. I was massive PMS, like I'm going to rip someone's head off. And that's in my house, that would be my husband. And I was really tired and I couldn't take any more of my children. And my husband picked up on it really quickly, and I said, I tell him how I feel, and I ask for my needs to be met. I say, I feel really awful. I just want to go to bed with the iPad and not talk to anyone for 2 hours. He said, you know what? That's totally fine. Why don't you go and do that? So I was getting ready to do that. He was getting ready to put the kids to bed for me, and the phone rang, and it was his best friend in Sydney. So they often miss each other because of the time zones, and he's his best friend. That's very important. And I was like, oh, that's like a 45-minute conversation. He's not going to put the kids to bed. I'm going to have to do it. And I was like, you know what? The world won't end. He'll just put the kids to bed a bit later. Well, they'll just watch another 45 minutes of TV. They'll still go to college. I need to go and take care of myself. I put the TV on. I let him have his conversation. I watched my 2 episodes of The Walking Dead, and the kids went to bed a bit later. There was an stop, and normally I would roll my eyes and put them to bed. Now, maybe I would have done if they were getting up for school the next day, but still, they weren't going to bed really late. My kids never go to bed really late. I left that scene with the TV on, the kids' snacks everywhere, my husband distracted on the phone, and I went and closed the bedroom door, put my earphones on, and let that just occur. Because that's what I needed to do. But there's a discomfort there, but we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because the discomfort goes. As soon as I had my headphones on, I felt much better.
Okay.
Much better than being resentful at my husband for having to do it. So I really want you to notice is the discomfort.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
How
does.
does it feel?
Good. Yeah.
And
Feels very strange though. I'm like, what?
yeah, that's why you're here, Kristen. It's why you're
What's fun?
here. And you're going to just ask yourself that question, just like Mimi did. You're just going to ask yourself that question.
Yeah. Okay.
And just see what happens, and we're just going to play around with it. That's all we're going to do. We actually have, if you can make it, I think we have another coaching call next Wednesday at this time, so you can come along and tell us how it is, or post it in the group. We want to know.
Yep. I'll be there next week.
All right, my darling.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Lisa or Isabel, would one of you like to step forward and get some support? Isabel, hey. You're at home, not at work.
Yeah, I'm working from home. I'm in California, so.
Okay, cool. Everybody's working from home. What am I talking about? I'm just used to seeing you in your office. It's like every call I've had, it's like you're not in your environment. So I was thrown. Of course, I'm working from my bed.
Yeah, I can really relate to what everyone's been saying, and I have a lot of resistance to journaling. And it is because you have all of this, for me, I have all of this stuff inside, and I've done a pretty good job of keeping that lid. And journaling opens up that lid, and what's in there is really, really uncomfortable. In fact, I almost didn't even call in today because, if you ignore things, you think it'll be okay, but actually it makes it a lot worse. So I'm really, really happy to be here. I have anxiety anyway, and this whole COVID thing has sort of thrown me over the edge. I mean, I'm doing fine, but I think I've left the house 3 times in 6 weeks just because I have that weird fear and anxiety about the virus. It's just weird times.
Okay, Isabel, take a deep breath. Hand here, take a deep breath. Yeah, you're safe here. Let's just do another little quick round. Will you do some tapping with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Even though I feel so anxious.
No, I feel so anxious.
So frightened of this virus.
So frightened of this virus.
There's so much inside of me.
So much inside of me.
I've been pushing it down.
I've been pushing it down.
And I don't want to.
And I don't want to.
That's why I'm here.
And that's why I'm here.
So I can get free.
So I can get free.
And right here and now.
And right here and now.
I'm safe and loved.
I am safe and loved.
Anxious.
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 Frightened.
Frightened.
Virus.
Virus.
Anxious.
Anxious,
Anxious.
anxious,
Anxious.
anxious,
Anxious.
anxious.
Take a deep breath. I know part of you've told me that you've suffered from anxiety. I'd love for you to work privately with an EFT practitioner specifically on that, because I know there's some root causes, and I know part of it's the stuff that you've been pushing down. It can really help with that. I do not want you, what we're going to do is going to really help massively. I think that would be an extra benefit for you.
Okay.
I'm going to say, I'm guessing you have specific issues in your past that this stem from. I relate deeply. I had anxiety and panic attacks throughout my drinking. I have a very special place in my heart for people who suffer from that. I know exactly what it's like. And I don't want, the suffering is optional. And I really want you to get some further help with that.
Okay.
We can talk a little bit about that another time. But yes, the reason, so what's happening is Isabel, who is deep inside, has been called to grow. She so wants to grow. She so wants to be this woman who she really is. And that's why she signs up for these bloody courses. And then she has to actually bloody well show up and do the flipping work. Be vulnerable. Oh my God.
Right. And you know, I'm talking about being small. Like, I do have trauma in my background. It's more emotional than it wasn't physical, but you know, I always tried to be invisible, because if I was invisible and small, then I wouldn't be the target. So and this is part of why I'm doing this work, because I do want to be my authentic self and let go of all of this crap that was put on me as a kid. And you know, I'm 57 years old and I'm still dealing with this crap.
Yeah.
And I want to be done with it.
Yeah.
I want to be done with it.
We want to be done with it. So I'm writing a new book, and I'm writing the chapter on process, and I'm writing a whole bit on the past showing up in our present. And that is the truth. We can be 57, 27, 87. Those past events that still show up in our present, we just have to scratch the surface, and they're right there. And I can see them right there, my love. And I just want to honor that and really hear that you are done with that. And
Yeah.
that the next chapter of your life is not going to be dictated to by that emotional trauma and the meaning that you took from that. That's the work that we're going to go into. It's not the events that happened to us, it's the meaning that we gave those events.
Right.
And that becomes our programming. We are going to begin to uncover that, and we're going to go into that process. It's the greatest tragedy that we live so long with that stuff, but we don't know what we didn't know. And this is the beginning of your new chapter to get rid of that.
I'm all in. I
Good.
just need to start journaling.
So what feels comfortable? I would like you, let's start you really gently. Can we do, I feel like you could do almost daily.
I can. It's just, I don't know why. I think here's the thing. When things feel uncomfortable for me, I tend to back off of it. And I've been working on going through it, because when you let yourself go through it to the other side, you survive and you're okay, right? But maybe that's what I need to commit to. It's not like I have to write pages and pages and pages either. So I
want to start you really simply with just a gratitude list of 10 things to be grateful for.
Okay.
So you develop the habit of doing it, and gratitude feels like easy usually.
Yeah.
Is just start there with doing that as many days as you can.
Okay.
With a 2 or 3 minute little meditation. I think maybe an app would be good for you, because to not have your thoughts wander off on their own is to have something guide you. So there's apps, and to just start there. And I want you to tell yourself this, Isabel, you are doing this because you are worth it. This is a big part of the habits we build. You are worth this time and energy. You are worth that. And that's what doing it tells our ego. I am worth this. I'm also going to say, I want you to find a photo of yourself from when you were young, and I want you to love on her.
I think that's important. Yeah. I made a note of it when you were talking about it earlier. So
I want you to go and love on her, and I want you to look at that picture, look at it and say, I love you. Because that's what she needed back then, and it's actually still not too late to do it.
Okay.
How does that feel?
I needed this this coaching session. I've taken a lot out of it. I'm on that road, and I'm going to go find a picture of that little girl and tell her how much she's loved.
Well done for coming and really claiming your seat. Well done, you and Kristen and everyone else. Look at you surviving vulnerability. I don't see the world ending.
No.
Look at that. Did anyone run screaming? Look at that.
No.
One thing about all the groups that I've run is the people who show up and do this work, which is actually just being vulnerable, these connections begin to be felt. And my groups have always been international, and most of my groups, a core part of them, keep in contact. I have a couple of groups that are still in contact, still do their own Zoom calls, because once we're vulnerable, that's how we allow connection. And I know everyone is relating to everything that everyone said in different ways.
Right.
But now I feel it. Does everyone feel the closeness? Does everyone feel that? Yeah. See? You showed us a little bit inside of you, and it was beautiful. So start there with the gratitude list. Let us know how that is, okay?
Okay.
All right, my love.
All right. Thank you.
Lisa! Last but not least. You might have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
There you are. Lisa, where are you? Remind me.
In Madison, Connecticut.
That's right. You're across the water from me. I can see you from Long Island. Pearl Wave.
That's right.
How are you doing, my love?
I'm showing up. So I showed up at noon. I'm going to show up. I haven't been showing up. I've wasted 6 weeks telling myself, you need to show up, you need to show up. So now I'm finally showing up. So if nothing else, like Isabel said, I like the all-in thing. I'm behind on everything.
Nobody's behind. It's not school. You are right where you need you to be. Do not tell yourself that story. It is enormous for you to show up. Enormous.
So yes, it is enormous. So I canceled 2 meetings to be able to attend. I emailed the people and said I don't have any updates today. And if it wasn't for COVID-19 and working remotely, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So that's kind of a cool thing. And so I've been trying. I have a therapist. We do tele-meetings now. Haven't had him for very long, but we've been working. He wants me to go out and walk every day. I want to be able to go out and walk every day. And it's how we talked last week. If it was an antibiotic, if I had a sinus infection or some other kind of infection and I needed an antibiotic, I would take it every day, right? No question about it. I would finish the antibiotics even after I felt better. I would still finish them because I know the importance of finishing the antibiotics. But somehow I cannot walk out my door and walk around the block. I don't know what it is. And I know I'd feel better. Like you said, if I do these things, I get the good stuff. And I have to go for these walks and come home and journal. And I do feel better after I go out and walk, for instance. But I didn't walk this morning. I didn't walk yesterday. I didn't walk Saturday. So,
What's the story you're telling yourself about walking that's preventing you?
It's too cold. I don't really feel like going out there. The bed's warmer. You know, I just think it's not that hard. It's not that I'm physically incapable. I'm certainly out of shape, but I can walk around the block. And I know it's important. But the first week I did it every day but one, because I woke up last Monday. I woke up and it was pouring down rain. I don't know if you remember, but
Yeah, I do.
yeah. So
We went slightly crazy that day.
yes. So so that was the only day I didn't walk, and then I had my next therapy appointment with him, and I haven't walked since. So it's like, okay, it's like a willpower thing. It just ran out after a week, you know.
Not willpower, it's the stories that you're telling yourself that are reinforcing a deeper story about something like, I'm a loser, or I don't do stuff, or I don't complete stuff. There's a deeper story underneath it's too cold or whatever. There's a deeper story. There's a program they're running, and we'll discover it. There's something not worthy. There's a deeper story there. Am I making sense?
Yes.
About not doing things you need to do for yourself.
Right, and it's not just the walking. I don't. I guess I haven't listened to Module 2 yet, but I guess it's about. Is it about habits? That's what.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been picking up. I do belong to a book club where we read a book by Wendy Woods recently about automaticity and how habits take away the need to make decisions all the time. Just like drinking, if you decide you're not going to drink, then life gets a lot easier. So I'm really good at learning and understanding things, but then there's the gap in the actual doing. So I'm going to go back and listen to Module 2.
So, good tip, listen to it on your phone when you're walking.
There we go. So and then I had a breakthrough on this call. I don't know why, for sure.
Because you showed up, that's why.
Oh, okay. All right, good. So I have trouble, I think that everything should be done, like if I'm going to walk, I should have a walking plan, like Runkeeper or Fitbit, or if I'm going to...
I see. This is perfectionism. You're making it so complicated and hard for yourself that it's just easier not to do it.
Right. But the breakthrough wasn't so much about the perfectionism as much as it is not believing that I know how to do it. So, and it goes back to having 5 parents. So I was number 5 of 7 children. So that means I had 3 older sisters, an older brother, and 2 parents. That, and I think that I think that I was always being told how to do something, okay, by everyone. Okay.
So you don't know how to do it Lisa's way because you were doing it everyone else's way.
Yeah. And and you know when it happened? The flash was when you held up your bullet journal, because that's another. I have a bullet journal, and it's just it's a Luke term, 1917. It's just the way. But again, I was out searching for the way other people do things, and that's another way I hit upon. And I think it does work for me. But again, it's that you said you have to find what works for you, and I really, really struggle with that. So because I'm so used, I never had to.
This is what,
for years, and it's not that we always did it his way. But when you have I'm the mother of an only child. So when you have a demanding only child and a husband, that was more and more opportunity to do things other people's way, you know? So anyway, that was just something that came through on this that I will have to think more about. So
yeah, module 2 is a lot about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and about starting some mindset habits, because that builds a foundation for the work that we're going to go forward and do. So one of the things that I want you to So I want you at some point in your day, preferably early, to note down what you're going to give attention to this day. So obviously you've got your work and your, how old your do you have a boy or girl?
Oh, she's 37.
Oh, so she's not at home. Okay, so that's fine. So I want you to bring your attention to what you're going to do for yourself today. Your mantra is done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. So a walk without the Fitbit. This Joe Wicks stuff is like this popular British, this is called the Body Coach. He has like this program that I joined because I want to get the exercise classes, because I'm getting, like, I do the same walk and run every day. I've done it now for 6 weeks and I'm getting a bit bored of it and I want to do different things. But I've had it like a week and it takes me a while to download it and figure out the thing. And like every day I'm like, oh, I wish I'd downloaded it because I'm kind of bored with this walk and the stairs and all this kind of thing. But I don't stress out about it anymore because I know I'll get there eventually. Probably this week. I'll probably do one of the workouts at some point this week instead of the run. So done is better than perfect. And I won't do it perfectly because I'm going to probably have to do it outside, and I can't do push-ups, and I'll just do what I can. So done is better than perfect. It's kind of a little bit like Kristen's homework. I want you to kind of sit with the imperfect mess of it and do it anyway. And notice the discomfort. So what's going to happen with you, Lisa? You are in a chapter of discovering who Lisa really is and what Lisa really wants, because you grew up with this conditioning. I'm an only child, and I was a chameleon and people pleaser. So when I got sober, I didn't know if I liked hamburgers or hot dogs. Like, if you like hamburgers, I like hamburgers. Exactly. If you like green, I like green.
But I can tell you everything my daughter and my ex-husband didn't like. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want you to feel the excitement of discovering, and also it's okay to go, I'm going to try hamburgers. You know what? I don't like hamburgers. It's okay. Now I know. There's no failure in that. There's nothing in that apart from your discovery. I think some of what you're doing is like, well, I can't do that because I'll fail at it, or I won't do it good enough, so I just won't do it anyway. We're going to do it.
I don't even internalize the failure. It's that I should like, what do you mean you don't like hamburgers? So-and-so likes hamburgers, therefore you should like hamburgers. Or it's good for you to like hamburgers, so therefore you should. It's the shoulding.
Okay.
Not necessarily the perfectionism or the failure. It's just all the different voices and all the social media and all of the news and all of the everything. And you know, and then I don't know if I like hamburgers or not, you know.
Do you should on yourself a lot?
I do.
Okay, right. This is your homework then. Have I given this to you guys? I give it to almost every group I do. Shoulding. Quick lesson on shoulding. We are not going to use the word should. Should is abusive. It's especially abusive to children. It's abusive. When you should on yourself, you're basically not accepting reality. You're right. Saying, go and have a time machine and go back in time and do that thing differently. So when I say to myself, I should have gone to the gym. This is back in the normal world when things were normal. So I sometimes would like to try and go to the gym at 5:30 in the morning. Sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't. I should have gone to the gym this morning because I haven't exercised today. All that does is make me feel bad about myself. There's nowhere to go with that. I should have gone to the gym this morning. What we're going to do is we're going to bring our awareness, and you will have this awareness now because we've brought it to the conscious mind. We're going to take the word should out and we're going to put it in the trash. And we're going to re-say the sentence without the word should. I would love to have gone to the gym this morning. I didn't because my 5-year-old woke me up twice and then woke me up early morning because he peed the bed. True story. So I was just too tired and I needed that extra hour in bed. Doesn't change the fact that I went to the gym or not. Changes how I feel about it. So I want you to practice whenever you notice the word should, stop. And you're not going to say, oh, I shouldn't do that. You're going to stop. You're going to take the word out and you're going to say the sentence. This is the difference between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset, by the way. Fixed mindset is should. There's nowhere to go with it. Where do you go with that? Where do you go with the thing that you can't change that happened in the past? A growth mindset accepts reality where it is, and there's growth that can come from it. I would have loved to have gone to the gym this morning, but I was just too tired. I've got time to do a 30-minute walk, or I can actually go tomorrow after I've dropped my kids off, and I know I'll feel so much better when I do that. It will, just not shoulding on yourself will transform your life, because this is all subconscious programming. It's all limiting beliefs. This is all mindset. So I want you to practice that, and I want you to just give yourself permission to try a lot of hamburgers and decide whether you like them or not. There's no failure, there's nothing like that. Just like what's Lisa's experience of this? She liked the hamburgers, she didn't like the hamburgers. And just claim it and own it. But I want you to practice not shoulding, and just allow. You are constricted by the rules that have been given you, and there is something inside of you that so wants to break out of those rules. So I want you to know some of this will be uncomfortable. Part of this practice is to get comfortable with the discomfort. Make sense?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
It feels good. It feels hopeful. So yes, and I need to show up. I should show up. No.
I'm gonna do my best to show up for this, because I'm worth it and I value myself.
Yes.
Once in a blue moon, life can, gets in the way, but we're just gonna do our best, and we'll hit the mark most of the time. Well done, Lisa, for showing up and claiming your seat. Feel better?
Yes.
Feels good now you're here?
Yes, it feels good.
Awesome. Okay, everybody, that was totally freaking awesome. You guys all rock. Oh, go and give your kids kisses and cuddles, Sheila. Okay, I think we got everybody, right? I didn't miss anyone. Okay, cool. There's another session next week, and then there'll be another module, I think, the week after that. I don't check the thing, because my calendar in my brain is not totally accurate, but make sure you check the events. Post in the group. I'd love to know how your homework and how you feel and all of that goes on. Post and let me know. I love seeing that feedback. Okay, take care, everyone. Good job. Bye-bye.